Your station for new and original, raw and uncut talent. Talk, politics, and music.
Ready? Let's get it. Cha. Welcome back to Politics as Usual. I am your host, Erick Wright, here to bring you the new information, the hottest topics that's going on today in the political world, to talk about it, to see if we can give it the black perspective or the overall perspective, see where we land on things. Today, on Politics as Usual, we're going to take a turn from random things that's going on in the world today, and we're going to focus in specifically on the presidential election. Yeah. I know everybody has their opinions about the presidential election. I'm not here to change your opinion or to sway you in any way, shape, form, or fashion, but I'm here to give you the facts as they are and kind of run down everything that's been going on to let you know how we got to the place that we are right now and what we plan to do from now until November's election. So, if we're talking about the presidential election, it started out with President Joe Biden and Donald Trump. They had their first debate. And this debate was lackluster, to say the least. Number one, you have two older men. It looks like a scene from Grumpy Old Men. Like it's two old men fussing back and forth with each other. One is absolutely lying through his fucking teeth. And the other probably don't even know where he is. And there was a few gaffes and few mistakes that happened there on the president's part. There was a few moments where he looked confused. There's a few moments that he said Trump instead of saying his own name or Vice President Harris. There was a few times he confused himself, and you could tell that he was losing a step. Now that was certainly evident. Now, on the flip side, Donald Trump did pretty much Donald Trump things. He deferred a lot on the questions. He brought up things that was irrelevant to the conversation, and he didn't seem as presidential either. But it seemed like he had some inside information to make sure that he cornered and pushed Joe Biden in a way that fluttered him and had him upset, and you could physically tell. Now, this is Politics as Usual, so we're going to talk about a lot of history sometimes. There were presidents, former presidents that ran for re-election, and they were around the same age, and they handled it differently. Let's take Ronald Reagan, for instance. Now, Ronald Reagan was posed this question. They said, President Reagan, the opposition has made a statement about your age and how you may be unfit to run this country because of your age. And your age is continuously getting higher, and we see the effects on aging on you. The reply from President Reagan at the time was genius. He used levity, jokes. He said, well, I'm not going to use my opponent's youth and inexperience against him. I'm going to run this race hard, and we're going to win in November. Everyone laughed. Everyone had a good time and thought that was the ringer of the night. Joe Biden did not have those moments. He didn't take advantage when he had the opportunity, and he pretty much lost that debate, and I'm sure nobody is saying that he didn't. So, after the debate, the peanut gallery and everyone in media was calling for the president to step down from the race, and for a while he was refusing. Now Joe Biden didn't want to concede or step out of the race. Being a old lion like he is, a old scrapping man, and throughout his history within government, he has been that guy that would tell you the truth, but Joe Biden would probably slap you in his younger years. He was that fiery of a person. You saw in the debate that he did lose that, and there was no way for him to gain that traction back. Now, after the debate, former President Donald Trump, went on the campaign trail, and there was an assassination attempt. Now, whether you think the assassination attempt was real or not, there was people there. There was witnesses. They also said someone had passed away, someone died, and also that the shooter was also shot. But there was a problem with this. Being in such close proximity to all of the people at that rally, you had local law enforcement, you had former President Trump's personal bodyguard and staff, and you had the Secret Service there. Now, that is something that we need to talk about and should be concerning, especially going into the future. We see that if one person is able to make an attempt, that means if 3 people do it, somebody is going to be successful. So keeping that in mind, there's no way that the Secret Service can continue like it was. And this hasn't been the first time the Secret Service has failed to do certain things. Remember when Trump had an issue of people running on the lawn of the White House? Obama had an issue about that. So we definitely believe that the Secret Service needs to step up. And this is a bipartisan issue. Over the past few weeks, we've heard everyone from AOC to the writers of the right wing agree that there needs to be a change in the Secret Service and the head of the Secret Service. So we got some good news on that front, because Kimberly Cheetah resigned. She resigned about 3 days ago, and she is no longer the director of the Secret Service. So they will have a new director, and hopefully they will get this together before the November election and going into the future to make sure that all candidates are safe. It doesn't matter your belief system, your party lines, or whatever. If you are out campaigning, at least you should be safe. Now, after she resigned, we had the RNC convention. Now, the Republican National Convention, of course, you know, all Republicans, delegates from different states, they all come together, and it's like a big hoorah that they're all together, and they want to show the strength of the party. Now, the RNC convention was definitely filled with some colorful characters, and I don't just mean black people. Colorful characters like Hulk Hogan. It seems more like a precursor to a wrestling match than an actual political event, and it was actually comical. And to see so much Botox and so much makeup on men, it was absolutely crazy, especially since the Republican National Convention is not a supporter of the LGBT community, but it definitely looked like it to me. But that just may be me in my eyes. So what do you think? Drop a few lines. Let me know in the comments. Now, the Republican convention went on, and they didn't have any major setbacks with that. But this is what happened after Republican National Convention, because they were creeping up in the polls, and there was no way for Joe Biden to gain traction. So he stepped out of the race. Joe Biden stepped out of the race. He is now what you would call a lame duck presidency. Now, let's hope that this period of time he is able to do more Joe Biden things. Right now, it's time for him to focus on his legacy. Right now, it's time for him to focus on things that he would like to do or tried to do but couldn't get it done while he's still in office and he's not running for re-election. This is his moment. And the tweet about Miss Macy and the brutal attack and killing of an unarmed black woman, it was mentioned by Joe Biden. And he wanted to urge members of Congress and the Senate to pass the George Floyd bill to make sure that police officers do not have blanket immunity for all of their actions and make sure we have a better standard of policing in this country. So this is a great thing because this is the first time we've seen Joe Biden really say what the hell is on his mind. And he doesn't have any repercussions for that right now because you're not running for re-election. So you are now within the lame duck process. But why did he drop out? And does history say that it's a good idea? Well, thinking about this, there has been maybe two sitting presidents running for re-election that did drop out of the race. One is Harry Truman. If you remember, Franklin Roosevelt died, and Harry Truman was placed as president, and he was going to run for re-election. But the problem with him running for re-election within his presidency was the Korean War. And because they bumbled the Korean War, and on top of that, he was also a part of dropping the bomb on Japan, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and the devastation it did to the Japanese people, although their attack on Pearl Harbor, it was in retaliation for that. But the American people didn't like that, and he was polling low on every national poll. So he decided to step down, not run for re-election, and his replacement lost. Yes, his replacement lost. The next person that did that was Lyndon B. Johnson. Lyndon B. Johnson didn't run for the re-election. He dropped out too. And when he dropped out, there was a guy named Richard Nixon that got that seat. So let's figure out how he got that. Remember, John F. Kennedy was assassinated. So you have Lyndon B. Johnson that steps into the presidency, and we have the Vietnam War. You know, Vietnam War, where the most people died in any war in history within that time frame. Also, you have the Agent Orange effect, where people came from Vietnam still sick, still hurting, and with those long-term effects, and it devastated the black community because there was more heroin addicts in Vietnam than there was in America. They actually came back from Vietnam with the habit, and it totally ravaged the black community. He dropped out of the race, and he lost. So that's two instances where both Democrat presidents, Truman and LBJ, and I'm not talking about LeBron, Lyndon B. Johnson, he was also a Democrat, but they both lost that race, stepping out and allowing someone else to do so. So if you look at that sense, it doesn't look like it fares good for the next Democrat nominee, but there is a path to success. There is a path to success. Now, Vice President Harris is planning to run for the presidency. She's the vice president, and she's been doing a decent job, to say the least. And she has an opportunity to become Madam President. And with that, there are 13 keys that every political analyst goes by. And if you get at least 7 to 8 of these 13 keys right, then your chances of winning the presidency is about 90% or higher. And it has predicted the last maybe 15 to 20 presidents. So it's almost foolproof that that if you check off enough boxes, then you should be able to get the presidency. Now, the thing that went sour in the case of Lyndon B. Johnson or Truman is that Truman and LBJ did not endorse the new candidate. That's one thing that Kamala Harris, Vice President Harris, has on her side because President Biden did endorse her. So that is a good thing. So that's a box checked. The other boxes, she checks about 4 or 5 of them. Now, there's a box that many do not check. That's the charisma box. Now, there's only a handful of presidents we can ramble off that did check that box. Those guys that end up being larger than life in the political sense. That's President Obama, President Clinton, President Reagan. You have Franklin Delano Roosevelt. These guys transcended the presidency to become Teddy Roosevelt. It definitely transcended just being a president to being a national treasure. I'm not sure with the divide in the political atmosphere, whether it's Democrat, Republican, whether it's white issues, black issues, whether it's gay or straight issues, or tribal battles like battles between black women and black men, the battles between white men and white women and vice versa. So she may not be able to garner that characteristic and get that box. But with social media, with the internet and everything that's going on, she would be able to get pretty close to it. Now, there is a way. The thing that does bother me is who's going to be a running mate. Like, there's a lot of qualified Democrats out there that probably could have ran for president that are available to be a vice president, and that can garner a lot of votes and can get the base excited. Now, will Vice President Harris campaign team reach out to them, or are they vetting them? I'm not sure, but I will give you my opinion and we can go from there. Also, within the comments, place who you would think or who you would like to be a vice president running mate for Vice President Harris. These are my thoughts. You need someone that's pretty moderate. You need someone that is fiscally responsible. So that probably means you want to go with a sitting governor. If we look at the current governors that's out there that are Democrat, we have a governor in Pennsylvania that may be pretty good on the ticket. You have a governor in Kentucky that may be okay. You have Newsom from California that may be an option. These are the few that I can think of off the top of my head that join with Vice President Harris that may have a strong ticket and a stronger path to success. But those are my thoughts. Put what you think down in the comments. Now, since we went over the we went over the chronological order of things or how we got to this point. Now let's give us something to think about in the black community and within ourselves because there's going to be a lot of back and forth. Number one, I would say to you, do not react off social media. Please know that a campaign is multifaceted, whether it's the candidate that's running the campaign or the internet or the social media platform that's being paid to flag, to notice, to send certain triggering information to you. There's going to be a lot of back and forth. There's going to be a lot of people saying their opinions. Try not to allow that to sway you because these are the few things that I would say that we have to be careful about. Number one, they're going to make it very clear that if you choose to support an independent candidate, a candidate from the Green Party, or just somebody else in the Democratic Party as the presidential nominee, that is going to be a direct vote for Trump. They're going to drive that down your throat and almost convict you to vote in the way that they would want you to vote. Now, that's a slippery slope because you're going to get starch Democrats that's going to be with it lock and step, but you're going to get other more progressive Democrats that's not going to be able to do that based on their morals and morality. Number two, it is going to be a concerted effort to forget any and all things that the vice president has done or hasn't done because they're running for president now. So all of that has to be forgotten. It shouldn't be mentioned. And if you bring up anything, be prepared to be attacked. The third thing, America is going to get gayer. That's just what it is. I have no problem with the LGBT community, and a lot of my family members are part of that community, and I support them wholeheartedly in their walk. But note that if Vice President Harris is able to gain the presidency, she is going to have to fire up the LGBTQ base. She's going to have to do that, and that means that she is going to have to give more concessions to that part of America, whether you agree with it or not. This is her path to victory. So if you see it, you recognize it, just understand that this is politics and this is part of the path. Also, there's going to be more corporate interests that do get a few gifts here and there, and that goes a part of the course. There's no politician, especially in the level of being in Washington, the presidency, vice presidency, the Congress, and the Senate, that doesn't have some kind of tie with corporations or industries. So you're going to see some industries strengthen their bonds with Vice President Harris. I'm bringing these things up to let you know that these things are going to happen. Try not to react out of anger. Try to learn more. Try to be educated more. Now, I would say this as Black folk, I do hope that she do win, and given the options is the lesser of the two evils, and that's okay. We're faced with that decision a lot, and as Black people, it's still symbolic. It's still a symbolic victory. And I know, we will go to the polls, and based on conviction, and we'll weigh the options, and we're going to come to a decision. And if Vice President Harris becomes the president, please be ready for no action. Like, it is symbolic at best. that we have someone that identifies as a black woman and that has a cultural connection. And that is about all we're going to receive out of this. Um, we should look at Joe Biden's presidency and what he was able to do and what he was unable to do. Now, they did a lot of decent things, a lot of good things, most things that the average Joe probably didn't know that they did, but they have been working. But because we don't see it directly and it's not directly affecting us, it kind of goes by the wayside. So I see that this trend is going to continue. There's still going to be a lot of decent and good things that's done for the country. But to think that as black folks, we're going to get thrown a bone or anything, please get that out of your head, because this is solely symbolic. And just because a person identifies as black doesn't mean they have the same black experience like others. So, yes, she's black by name, black by acceptance, but will probably have the political stance of a moderate white Republican woman. And that's just being honest about the situation. That doesn't mean it's going to be bad or anything like that, or I think that she's incapable of running the country, because if Donald Trump can do it, fuck, anybody can do it. What I also would leave you with is this. Just like Donald Trump, I'm pretty sure that most black people and most black men probably believe that Donald Trump isn't a racist. I'm pretty sure we believe that. And we believe this because of history. We believe this. If you look at through the 80s and 90s, Donald Trump was a part of black culture a lot. And that's one thing that some people don't forget, like even down to Mike Tyson, when he got arrested that time and had to spend 4 or 5 years when he was the champion of the world in boxing because of a allegation that came out. One of the people that was supporting him in that time was Donald Trump. Yeah, it had a whole lot to do with him bringing millions of dollars to Trump Towers and to the boxing events, of course. But he's always been on some sort of side of sports or rich people. Now, I see Donald Trump just like I see Governor Wallace. I'm from Alabama, so let me hip you. So Governor Wallace is the guy that segregation now, segregation forever. He did that in turn, but did he believe that? Really? Nah, he didn't. He was a populist person, but he wanted to win an election, and this is where politics come in. He wanted to win an election, and he lost 2 times the governorship twice because he wasn't racist enough. He didn't energize that base enough. Now, once he got that base energized and they put him in the governorship, Wallace started doing things that he didn't run on and he didn't do to excite the base. And they got upset about that. So upset that when the march happened in Selma, the Selma to Montgomery March, he could not control the rabid-ass voters that he has. Similar to Donald Trump, he cannot control the rabid-ass voters. Now, you can get them fired up, you can get them ready to vote, but the minute something doesn't go their way, they're going to look for destruction. This is what history tells us. And if history tells us anything else, once Governor Wallace decided he was going to run for president, and on the campaign trail, shaking hands, he was shot by one of his own people because they felt like they got lied to. Just like Donald Trump is lying to these people now. He does not believe in the things that you believe in, white America. He doesn't believe that at all. When he was a president, You didn't get anything either, white America. Just like when Barack Obama was president, black people didn't get a damn thing. No, we're not going to receive anything. And just like Donald Trump, his base won't receive anything. Now, who will? Corporations, the 1%, the 10%, they will see breaks. And because that's what Donald Trump does, he is a man of the rich people. It is what it is. You can't put a lipstick on a pig and call it anything else. It's still swine, my brother. So keep this in mind. And it's a straight parallel because Governor Wallace was shot campaigning and he was paralyzed, couldn't walk for the rest of his life. Now, same thing with Donald Trump. He's out touting these things and he gets shot. And he didn't get shot by some militant brother. He got shot by a little white boy with bad aim. And the Secret Service allowed him to do it. So let's not get caught within this political season with infighting. Let's not fight each other. Black men don't fight black women. You know, Democrats don't fight each other. Liberals don't fight the moderate Democrats. The older baby boomer generation don't fight the millennials, don't fight the Gen Z. We need to be collective on this, and whoever is president, we need to make sure they represent the whole country and all of the problems that we have. This is our goal, and that's what we have to do. And focus locally. Focus locally. There are races locally, especially in the state of Alabama. We have a new chance to capture an additional seat in Congress. Let's attain that. There's a lot of new districts being made or developed in many different states. Louisiana, Tennessee. There's a lot of different states adding additional districts for that representation. Let's focus on that, not losing the ultimate goal into making sure America lives up to those words that they put on the Constitution, that we tout that all men are created equal and have the right to pursue happiness as they see fit. Like, we need to make sure that we stand on that business and none of the infighting, because politics would be politics. And if you can't see through the bullshit, you always get fooled by it. Keep your head on the swivel.